Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. And it is a Wednesday as we start Hump Day, as they call it. And I heard my little granddaughter the other day was talking about Hump Day. They've been mentioning it so much, I reckon, around these kids that they know what Hump Day is now. That we're it's Wednesday and we're looking toward the weekend.
That's right. You get over the hump at noon or 1 o'clock.
Of course, the Troy City schools have been on spring break. And
No, not yet.
Not yet? Oh, I thought it was.
Some schools are on spring break, but Troy is the end of the month. I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, pardon me. It's Troy University that's been on spring break, and I'm sure they're having a big time. A lot of them, those ATOs, will be walking into Pier Park this afternoon, so that's going to be a big relief, I'm sure, for them. They walked 128 miles. They do it every year. I was joking yesterday, and some people are recruiting kids to be in their fraternity. Say, hey man, you come with us, you get to walk 128 miles every spring.
And they say, well, I think I'll go ahead and pledge Sigma Chi.
I think I might too. Now, not to be facetious, which we are being.
Well, let's take our hats off to them. It's a wonderful cause, and it's a tradition, and they are upholding the tradition.
And back when I was that age, I might have done something crazy like that.
It's an adventure. It's something that you can remember and talk about the rest of your life.
Yeah. I was at the baseball game in Montgomery, and Troy had a 7-2 lead at one time, and ended up blowing it and losing it in extra innings. At least that's where it was when I turned my radio off.
Who were they playing?
They were playing Southern Mississippi, a very good team from Hattiesburg. It was a beautiful setting. They played the game at the home of the Biscuits,
Riverwalk,
and the food was wonderful. And it wasn't a real big crowd, but the crowd that was there seemed like they really had a big time. But again, Troy finds a way to lose.
Well, it's like the football game against Southern Miss. We had a chance in that one too.
Yeah. I wish somebody would pick up the phone and call me and tell me, oh, Mike, you're wrong. Troy came back, but I don't think they did. Troy is getting beat in the 6th and 7th innings. They're losing their pitching around that, and these other teams are playing their best during that period of time. And I hate to say it, but Troy's a couple of pitchers off right now.
The bullpen, that bullpen is important, as you see it in the major leagues, too.
Well, they scored a bunch of runs late. Southern Miss did it without really getting but just one hit. So, that's all it takes is a few errors and a few bases on balls, and you're in trouble, and that's what happened.
You told me yesterday that Pike Liberal Arts, not surprisingly, is off to an undefeated start.
Yeah, they're off to a good start, and we'll be seeing a lot of them, I'm sure, this year.
We'll be seeing a lot of those players in college or the pros one day, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No question about it. Of course, the virus is still out there. You got a report on that this morning?
Well, the headlines get more...
Still nobody in Alabama, is that right?
Yeah. Steve Camp just told us that we're one of the few states that have not only nobody passing away from it, but no confirmed cases. But man, it is.
You wonder how that happens.
I go to the Drudge Report to get my headlines on the internet, and every story almost is about the coronavirus, and just about all. And if you watch the nightly news, 20 minutes of it is about the coronavirus. So some of this, the more stories there are, the more panics there's going to be. It kind of feeds itself. But I don't see any major change between yesterday and today. I think they have said that the new cases in China are looking better. But America, they're starting to, double every day. But still only, 300 cases confirmed in the whole United States of America?
I don't know what the latest there is on that. I know this, that China, after being I reckon the country that gave us, I shouldn't say I reckon, it came from China, this virus, and they are, the last 2 or 3 days have not had any new cases, and that's good.
That's good.
That means it's wearing out, you know what I mean?
I've always thought that the warm weather ought to help, and other people I read online say that no, this virus will stay alive in the warm weather, but you don't read about many cases in Australia or hot weather countries.
Well, another thing too, Auburn has extended their spring holiday. Have you noticed that?
No.
Yeah, Auburn is going to shut down school for the rest of March.
Wow.
At least that's some information.
Well, a lot of colleges,
right.
Harvard has closed, and then a lot of other colleges have closed, and their students are supposed to be taking classes online.
So that was just something that I heard through the grapevine that was happening, and and it makes a little sense. They were having their spring break, and at the same time, just extended a week or two, to make sure that these kids are safe and sound.
I just hope they don't cancel the Masters. I look forward to that every year. And then March Madness, I kind of keep up with. And then the one you mentioned a couple of days ago, college football. If they cancel college football,
wouldn't that be something?
I'm going into a deep depression.
We really have a problem if that's the case. And even spring games, that's a big thing too. The spring football games. Troy's going to have their spring game on April the 4th, and they've got a lot of things planned. But you look at Alabama and Auburn, they'll have 35 to 40, sometimes 50,000 people at their spring games. So
Alabama used to have 90,000 at their spring games.
There's a new team in town, and their name is Valiant Cross. It's one of 2 new teams that will be in the Alabama Independent School mix this year. Banks Academy in Birmingham is in the same neighborhood as the defunct Banks High School. So we got 2 schools, new schools coming up in the Birmingham area.
Name me one player that played at Banks High School.
Johnny Musso.
He did?
Major Ogilvy.
I thought Tony
Jeff
Nathan.
Rutledge.
Okay, it was Rutledge that was from Banks?
Yeah.
Who was it? What was that huge game between Rutledge and Tony Nathan? That was Banks versus Woodlawn.
And that's where they made the biggest boo-boo maybe in high school football history. That game was, everybody was talking about that game, Banks High, Birmingham against Woodlawn, Tony Nathan against the Rutledge, Jeff Rutledge, and Major Ogilvy and all those guys. And the game was going to be played at Legion Field. I want to say they played it on a Thursday night. And it turns out that they had just 2 gates open, and they had 30-something thousand people.
And half the people didn't get in until
halftime. We've had a situation like this a few years back when Troy played Mississippi State. One of the gates where they were checking for the cowbells and all that, the Mississippi State group did not get into the game until the 3rd quarter.
Oh my! I never heard that story.
Oh yeah, and it's a wonder that they've wanted to come back. It was the largest crowd in Troy history. That game was.
Troy had a chance to win that game.
That's right, but it was terrible for those Mississippi State folks because we're sitting up there checking for cowbells. And to pick that up this morning. Good morning. You on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, morning.
Where you calling from?
Grayton Beach, Florida.
Are the spring breakers down there yet?
Yeah, there's thousands of people down on 30A right now. I was down in Dallas Beach yesterday, and there was, kids and parents on bicycles and strollers everywhere.
What do you call those people? Do you call them yuppies, or what do you call them, Mike? They're invading your privacy.
Call them spring break, I guess. Everybody's just down here trying to enjoy a week away. It's the weather's been great down here. It's a little rainy, it looks like, this morning from what I can see.
Where do the high school and college kids go to spring break these days? I've heard that Panama City Beach is giving them a do not come notice.
Yeah, I think they maybe go more towards 30A and, Sandestin, Destin area is what I would think. Panama City Beach is, kind of put down the rules as far as no alcohol on the beaches and trying to turn it into more of a family atmosphere for younger people. So I think that's the case. Of course, yesterday I was reading Jeff Sessions has got a commercial out about Tommy Tuberville being from Florida and that he's a tourist in Alabama, and they had to list every single one of Tuberville's properties. Apparently he's got one at Splash down in Panama City.
He does.
And then he's got one at Royal Panama, a condo down here, and then he's got a beach house in Walton County. So he's got 3 properties in Florida. Just sold a house on Lake Martin, owns 100 acres outside of Auburn, and then owns a home in Auburn. So
He done all right, hasn't he?
Every place where Tommy Tuberville lives now because of this campaign.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? They take all the pride, all of the pride and dignity away from you if you run for office.
Well, you better know that before you get
they
in.
They want to know what time you shower every night or every morning.
Apparently, the last time he voted in Florida. So Sessions is saying he's a tourist.
Well, I know he owned part interest of the Alabama-Florida Fish House. I know that, and with my buddy who owns it.
It's no more. I mean, the Florida Fish House is owned by a family from Missouri now.
Okay.
Well, he's still going to win, I think. You saw yesterday that President Trump endorsed Tuberville. He won the primary. I don't know that. I mean, it's an uphill battle for Jeff Sessions to win.
We're talking about a 12-point lead over former U.S. Senator Jeff Sessions, and that's something. And he's done it in a quiet way. Tuberville has. I knew he came to Troy for about 15 minutes one afternoon. They said you need to run down there. Tuberville's down there on the square. Yeah, I bet he didn't stay here 15, 20 minutes, and he was off. But he made an appearance. And
I told you I got behind his
RV. Let me tell you
the other
something.
day.
And there was orange and blue everywhere you looked. And don't ever think, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm not being silly about this, that being from Auburn and far Auburn and being the former Auburn football coach does not play a big hand here.
I noticed something.
I mean, the Auburn folks going to take care of their people. They're just like Marines. The Marine Corps guys, they always take care of each other. Well, the Auburn folks take care of each other, and they're going to see that this guy gets elected.
He's been thinking about it for a while. I remember hearing him on TV talking about football. People would interview him the last couple of years, and he was always super complimentary about Alabama and what Coach Saban had done, trying to overcome some of that sentiment.
Well, let me just say this, and here it is right here, the 6th.
Fear the thumb.
What is it now?
Fear the thumb.
No, the thumb. And, he beat Alabama 6 years in a row, and Auburn folks will never, ever forget that. And Auburn folks will go to the polls and overwhelming put their guy into Washington.
Well, apparently a lot of Alabama fans are voting for him. I said on the recent show that ESPN.com magazine did a big feature on Tuberville running for Senate, and the story was about him going to Tuscaloosa the weekend of the Alabama-LSU game and campaigning. And one of the people, the author of the story interviewed was my brother Rush. He's got a quote in the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dad, I hope you didn't go to Montgomery and watch the baseball game.
Mike, well, I was talking about, what was the final score?
They got beat 9-7.
Well, Troy led at one time 7-2. I want to say going into the 6th.
Going into 7th inning, it looks like.
Oh yeah, and they blew it again. They've got to find.
You talking about a season that looked so promising, starting 8-1, and now you're 9-8. What in the world has happened?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Florida 3 in a row. That's one thing.
And Troy looked very good early, and I stayed till about the 5th inning. Then I headed home and listened to it on the radio. And they scored 6 runs in 1 inning. You can't let them do that, you know. And Southern Miss is
really they have no bullpen at all.
yeah, and Southern Miss is a good program too, a solid program. They're as good as anybody around, I tell you. They're well coached and well disciplined, and you know they didn't blink an eye scoring 6 runs.
Well, they could have beat Southern Miss. They had 2 games against Florida they could have won.
That's right.
So it's just, you got to win the close ones. You got to finish, as Coach Saban says all the time.
No question about it. They've got some football regions now have been established in the Alabama Independent Schools, Mike. Pike Liberal Arts is going to be located in Region 1 with Glenwood, Hooper, Lee Scott, Pike Liberal Arts, Success Unlimited, and Valiant Cross. That's one of the new schools, Mike. He's hit and knocked down at the Valiant Cross 14-yard line, and with timeout on the field, the score, Valiant Cross 14, Success Unlimited 6.
What's
But
about?
before long, we'll have Tommy Tuberville 14, Banks Academy nothing.
I wonder what Valiant Cross's nickname will be.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you. Let's see here. But Banks High School, Mike, is opening back up, it says.
Yeah, I never knew they closed.
No, Banks High School of Birmingham.
Must be some private school if they're in the AISA, though.
It says Valiant Cross is one of 2 new teams that will be in the Alabama Independent School football mix. Banks Academy and Birmingham in the same, what now?
Banks Academy, yeah.
What did I say?
Well, it's not Banks High School.
Okay. Banks Academy in Birmingham, in the same neighborhood as the defunct Banks High School, will be part of the Class AA Region 1. So that's the other new school. But now at the same time, the church school out of Dothan has elected to go to the public schools to play a public school schedule. So they're gone.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question I bet both Amoses get. What is the most popular nickname in the Alabama High School Athletic Association?
Tigers.
By far. I counted that up.
Tiger meat.
I must have had too much time on my hand because one time for a story, I got out the AHS guidebook and counted up all the nicknames and ranked them by popularity. It was Tigers in the landslide.
I tell you, John Ramage is one of the most enthusiastic guys. I told John that we ought to have a contest, he and I, as cheerleaders. If I had to do it over again, I'd been a mic man and the cheerleaders. You don't even see the mic man much anymore, though. You remember what a big thing that was in Alabama?
Yeah,
you were the most popular guy on campus if you were the mic man.
I had a fraternity brother that was the mic man for the Alabama cheerleaders.
And he was probably one of the most well-known students on campus, wasn't he?
He did a good job. He got to go to all those fun trips, so it was a good gig.
And of course, John really promotes Pike Liberal Arts School. And
I've got a quote that's one of my favorite quotes. I pulled it from General Colin Powell's autobiography, and the quote is, "Never stomp on enthusiasm."
That is good, isn't it?
He was talking about when he was an officer and he would have some captain or somebody come brief him on something and they were real excited about something. He didn't know if it would work or if it was a crazy idea, but he said that these guys have sold themselves on it and I'm going to let them run with it as long as they're this enthusiastic. So I have used that quote, "Never stomp on enthusiasm," many times.
And you know, another great one-liner is, "Don't burn any bridges."
Mm-hmm.
So if you're disgruntled about something, keep it to yourself.
That has helped me many times in my life.
Make everybody think they're great, and whether they are or not, and then go your merry way.
Bite your tongue.
But don't burn any bridges, because you never can tell when you might have to go back to that.
I got another favorite
scenario.
Always remember, keep it down home, cuz.
No. Keep it down home, cuz.
I've got another one that I use all the time.
And you know what? Thank you, Auburn, for giving us Larry Blakeney. I'll take Larry Blakeney any day of the week. What a great guy.
I got this one from my little brother. I owned the Troy Citizen, and he was the co-owner for a while, and that was stressful times, running a newspaper when you'd never done it before, and deadlines and all that. And I was trying to decide what to do on something and going back and forth. And finally, Bobby just looked at me and said, Bill, happiness is a decision. Just make the decision and go with it. And I've used that one many, many times.
That
too.
is, and
Just make the decision, and you'll be happy.
And of course, Yogi Berra always said, what was that thing he said?
Well, about a million things, which?
The end of the road. What did he say about the end of the road? It's amazing all the one-liners he had.
I wonder where the quote "it is what it is" comes from, because I say that a lot.
And Deja Vu, he made that.
Deja Vu all over again?
Yes, day by day.
Tua Tagovailoa is medically cleared to start football activities again, so everything looks good and is on schedule for Tua to throw at Alabama's Pro Day on April the 9th.
Will he be the 5 guy or what?
I'm saying second.
He might be number 2 to the Redskins now.
He would be great for the Redskins, wouldn't he?
Well, they just drafted Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State.
They did?
Yeah, they must not have much hope in his future.
Exactly right.
Michael, isn't Tua's injury the exact same injury that Mosley had at Alabama 12 years ago?
C.J. Mosley, yeah, that's correct.
And then he came back the next year, had a fine season, and is one of the richest players in the NFL today, playing linebacker, which would be easier than playing quarterback.
Yeah. What is going to happen, Mike?
It's going to be interesting with what's going to happen with Tua's brother. It's going to be interesting to see how the spring goes for Talua at Alabama. Because all you hear is Bryce Young and Mac Jones talk. I wonder if he'll look for a transfer.
Mike, I saw a very happy dad the other day out at the scrimmage, and he was from Alabaster, and I don't know what happened, what they did at Alabaster to build such a football program. Their facilities are probably the best in the state. Somebody poured a bunch of money into that program and did it in a hurry. We're talking about what's the high school there in Alabaster?
Talking about
Thompson High School. What did they do, and who did it? Do you know?
You're right, it did.
To build that program so quick.
That's what Max Howell tells us all the time is when you look at program success, you got to first look at the athletic administration and the boosters to see if they're behind being a successful program and are giving their full support, all on the same page, moving together.
I was looking.
They hired, Mark Freeman, who was the head coach at Daphne, so they brought in a really good coach. That helped.
Yeah, no question about it. A couple of guys that we've known.
Who's the guy from Thompson that plays at Troy?
He's a linebacker, defensive back guy.
Yeah, he's been there for like 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I saw his daddy, and daddy was just raving over what could have been. He said he was been recruited by several other teams, and the last place he went to was Troy. And he said his son turned around to him and said, "Daddy, we don't have to look anymore. This is where I want to be."
Oh.
And it was all about being around some players and the kind of character and these players showed him, and that's what he wanted. He didn't want to go anywhere where there was any bitterness or anything like that. He wanted to be a family, and he said his son has found a family early and has really loved his 3 years here at Troy.
We'd love to hear those stories.
I noticed that we talked about Pierre Good and all those Good brothers that were so good out of Hazelwood High School. Well, now I know the reason why. Aaron Good was their football coach, and evidently that was their daddy. Is that right? Was he their coach?
I bet he's kin to him somehow if he wasn't their daddy.
He'll be honored in the.
You're talking about up Town Creek?
Yeah, Town Creek, Hazelwood, which is right there at
Antonio
Town Creek.
Langham is the first cousin of the Goods.
But I was looking at these Hall of Fame inductee guys, and the Good name really.
I think about Kerry Good all the time. He was on his way to becoming a superstar, and just had a terrible knee injury and was never the same after that. And now he's battling severe form of Lou Gehrig's disease.
Spring of a baseball, and it's fixing to. Well, it's going full speed right now. There's games today, and huge look at all of the games to be played. Surely that this virus won't get involved with Major League Baseball. It's outdoors.
Says the SEC basketball tournament's going to allow fans, but it's closing the locker rooms to media due to coronavirus concerns.
Is there any sports media left? That's something.
The Ivy League is their tournament. I think they're not allowing any fans.
Yeah.
Well, Harvard is closed. Their college.
What is this about Auburn, Mike? Didn't they close for the rest of March?
I hadn't heard that. You want to hear the projected Alabama depth chart for football in the spring?
I read that story. But,
go ahead and let us know a little bit about it.
Quarterbacks are possibly Mac Jones, Talua Tagovailoa, Paul Tyson, Bryce Young. Of course, a lot of people think Young will be pushing Jones.
Now listen, let's just look at this. Here's the best football player in America, voted by far the top player in high school football a year ago. How in the world could this backup quarterback beat this guy out? This guy, Young, will be the quarterback. There's no question
Mac
about
Jones, Mike, is a redshirt junior, so this is his fourth year. So it would be experience counts for something.
Yeah.
And I still, you still haven't seen many pure freshmen that can come in and light it up as pure freshmen. So.
Well, this guy is the kind of guy, a 5-star is supposed to be the guy that can make a difference right away,
Well,
and,
Mac Fromm started right away after somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
Tua came in, and he could have started all year and been better than Jalen, but they didn't bring him in until they needed to in the national championship game.
Would Alabama beat Auburn with Tua in the game?
I would think so.
You would think so?
I would not think there'd be 2 pick sixes. I would say that.
I'm talking about when Tua was a freshman. Alabama lost to Auburn.
Well, they didn't put him in the game.
Yeah, but so you think if Tua would have started that game, Alabama would have won?
Yeah.
But anyway, the running back situation in Alabama is Najee Harris, Brian Robinson Jr., the kid out of Tuscaloosa, who's had a decent career at Alabama. Trey Sanders is a 5-star that blew out his ACL before the season. They expect him to have a huge year.
Yeah, and he was the guy that was the top running back in America when he came out of high school, wasn't he?
That's correct.
I thought he had an ACL, but that story I think said he had a foot injury.
Or maybe it was his ankle. It was one of those. But Kalen Robinson had a couple long runs last year. He's from that legendary school up in Baltimore. Jace McClellan's the kid they signed this year. Rodell Williams is another kid they signed this year out of Hueytown. And then another kid named Kyle Edwards. The running back is loaded at Alabama.
They are loaded.
Wide receiver. This is the spring depth chart at Alabama.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Is back after having 1,400 yards receiving last year. Jalen Waddle.
All right, wait a minute. Who's your first guy?
Devontae Smith had over 1,400 yards receiving last year.
Exactly.
Jalen Waddle was phenomenal. Everybody knows him. Slade Bolden's the kind of do-it-everything guy. Can play quarterback, can play wide receiver, play the slot. John Mechie, they've been talking about him for the last couple of years, supposed to be a breakout star. Terrell Sabers is a guy, or Shivers at 6'6", 220, big, tall receiver. Zake Williams is another guy to look forward to as well. So Alabama's loaded at wide receiver, it looks like, as well. Tight ends, you got Miller Fallstar back, Carl Tucker, Major Tennyson, and my favorite tight end, Giles Amos is back.
I thought he was a senior. He's back, they say.
Giles Amos?
Yeah.
Walk-on.
MOS, and then Michael Parker. Alabama also added a graduate transfer in Carl Tucker that's supposed to help from North Carolina. He had 600 yards receiving in North Carolina in 4 seasons. After that, your offensive tackle is Alex Leatherwood, Tommy Brown, Pierce Quick, he's the kid out of Hewitt-Trussville, Amari Knight, he's the kid out of Thompson, Javon Cohen, he's the kid out of Phoenix City, and then you got Damian George as well. Offensive guards, you got Evan Neal, Dante Brown, Emil Ecord Jr., and then after that, you got center Landon Dickerson. He was a starter at Florida State. Now he'll be a 2-year starter at Alabama. Defensive ends. After that, you've got LeBron Ray. Is this finally the year for LeBron Ray? Is going to be healthy, you think?
If he is, he's a first-round prospect.
And then this guy was a stud last year as a freshman, Christian Barmore. Big, strong defensive tackle. Byron Yon, Fedaris Mathis. You got a guy named Justin Eagleby, Braylon Ingram. This is on your defensive ends. So that position looks like it's going to be a lot better. And then nose guard, you got DJ Dell, who missed, the last 2 games, Bill? Is that right?
Yeah, and I've got a Troy connection with him. I think it was y'all that told me that Adam Helms from Charles Henderson
Coached him.
Yeah, David Helms' son coached him in high school and said he's the real deal.
Yeah, Coach McClay Chapel. And then Stephen Wynn Jr. as Mel Softler. He's a guy out of Louisiana that got redshirted last year. Outside linebackers, you got Christopher Allen, Ben Davis, who's been probably the biggest flop in recruiting history. He's a 5-star and has barely played at Alabama.
But wouldn't he be a great story if he came on and had a big, good redshirt senior year? You know, he got a sack late in the year. I'm watching old Ben.
Then you got Jerez Pars, Kevin Harris II. This guy's supposed to be a 5-star phenomenal player. Drew Sanders. And then Chris Braswell's another 5-star. Will Anderson's another 5-star. And then Cordarius Robinson is from Jackson Hole. And I remember I met him when he was a 10th grader. And he's supposed to be a phenomenal player as well. Those are all outside linebackers. So Alabama's got some amazing talent.
They look loaded, don't they? They look loaded.
Inside linebackers, this is huge here. This is where you had so many young players last year. Dylan Moses is back, preseason All-American. Josh McMillan on his 6th year at linebacker. Got a medical red shirt. Shane Lee had a really good freshman year. Christian Harrison a good freshman year. Jalen Moody, Ali Keough, Demoy Kennedy, supposed to be the next C.J. Mosley, 5-star out of Theodore, and then Jackson Branton, 4-star out of Muscle Shoals. Boy, Alabama might win it all
Isn't that amazing? They are loaded.
Don't you think that they might move one of those inside linebackers to outside linebacker? That's where they're weak in depth. Maybe that Harris kid, you think they might try him at outside linebacker?
I mean, that's a possibility. And then quarterbacks, when they're going to have some issues, Patrick Sartain, 3-year starter, he's coming back. Josh Joe played a little bit. Ron Williams Jr.'s back. Jalen Armour Davis, Marcus Banks, Eddie Smith, Brandon Turnage, and Jaquiz Robinson will be your quarterbacks. So that's one issue that Alabama will have. They did lose some guys in the secondary. Jordan Battle is back at safety. Daniel Wright, DeMarco House, Malachi Moore, and Christian Story. He's the kid out of Lynette. So Alabama's going to have some issues in the secondary, but other than that, they're pretty much. You really couldn't.
They don't be able to rush the passer. That's what's important.
Yeah,
rush the passer.
And then kickers, you got Will Reichert, the kid out of Hoover. They got hurt last year. Is back. Joseph Leos, we all know he can't do the job. I wish he would have transferred. Ty Piran, he's a kid out of Prattville that was a walk-on punter. And then this guy needs to transfer too. Skylar DeLong is one of the worst punters I've ever seen in my life.
He has some kind of mental block, like golfers sometimes have, that they just completely lose it and can't play anymore. Because he was kicking the ball 45 yards in high school when they gave him a scholarship, and he comes to Alabama, and he literally can't kick the ball 30 yards.
Right now,
I
things
think he's
are.
going to block as soon as he shanks one, Saban chews him out as soon as he gets to the sideline.
Yeah. All of this is. When do they want to have their spring game, Mike? Do you know?
I think it's April the 18th.
So far, so good for the state of
I don't know. The
Alabama.
only question looks like to me right there is really secondary. Those are a lot of young guys in the secondary.
And outside linebacker where Lewis and Jennings were lost, there's not much depth or proven pass rushers out there.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
I don't know. I'm calling for my lungs up this morning. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by our great friends at Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. And boy, you want a great breakfast this morning. It is a wonderful breakfast. Their biscuits are wonderful. Their patty sausage is wonderful if you want sausage and biscuits. And then they've got those wonderful Kelly's Link sausage. So just pick up the phone and say, hey, give me a sausage and a biscuit, and with patty sausage and one with Link sausage. And I'll pick it up at the door.
You know, one thing I like when you take me to Birds for breakfast, they've got a framed collage with the theme Meet You Around the Square. And it was donated by the Troy Citizen. And it's about 40 pictures of people enjoying different activities around the square. And my mom, late mom, did the collage. She laid it out.
Yeah.
And then I took probably about 85% of the pictures that are in it. Jane Treadwell, I think, took the others. She used to work for the Citizen. But it's fun. It's about 15 years old. It's fun to see people what they look like 15 years ago.
Exactly. Tell us a brief history about our newspaper. You know, people don't realize that Troy has had a newspaper since 1866. Yeah, in 66, you know, right there in the middle of the Civil War. Is that right?
It sure has. Continuing to operate now. It's had many owners, but the paper itself has been in operation since a year after the war between the states. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about newspapers. They're still important, but think for how long they were the source of news. You didn't have radio, TV, internet, and so every piece of news you got was from that newspaper. Yeah. And it's also your source of history. When my dad or Margaret Pace Farmer goes to write their history books, where do they start? The archives of the newspaper.
That's right. And a lot of history here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I need a haircut. I just can't make myself go get a haircut. I've gone longer without a haircut than I've ever gone before.
You know, one of our favorite guests I've had since I've been on the show was Raymond Ledford.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, telling us some stories about his barber's
could
career.
he write a book? Could he write a book? I mean, you and Michael, of course, he let Pell cut his hair, but you know, Pell and Raymond both were raised out at the Baptist Children's Home, and Pale had the first chair, and all you had to do was look at him and know where he got the name Pale. But
I've never tell me that story. I've just always
pale face. We call him pale face. But he was born and raised out of the Baptist Children's Home, and he cut so many people's hair. But Michael, when he was growing up, he couldn't stay still for 1 minute. You put him out in the outfield and he's jumping around and all that. But when it came to getting his hair cut, but I don't know what Pale told him, but Mikey never moved at all. What did Pale tell you? Did he tell you going to whip you, or what did he tell you?
He probably had that straight razor out in my ear. I didn't want to get cut.
That straight razor, and they made it pop. They can make that thing pop. And
they still allow the straight razor to cut to shave your neck at the very end. That was one of my favorite things.
Oh, you're right. They put that hot lather around your neck.
Yeah, they don't allow those anymore.
They didn't do that for you.
Well, I didn't know that they had. Is this our great government passed some regulation that says you can't use that?
Yeah, you can't use them anymore. They got to use like a brand new razor just to shave your face to use now.
They used to.
In the land of the free, you cannot get your neck cut by a straight razor.
Yeah, you can't do the straight razor anymore. That was my favorite.
I think they still do shaves. They'll shave your face, and they'll also give you a facial where they put you down and put all this steaming hot towels on your face, and they actually they used to pick blackheads off people.
Don't tell that story.
I don't want to tell that story, but that's what they used to do. They were doing facials, and for men. And women get facials all the time, but men, you don't ever hear them getting a facial.
Those are relaxing. Those were good.
And he used to do it. They used to do it. Probably still would.
I guess Biden last night is going to win the Democratic side of the race. I'm seeing he trounced Bernie.
I think that's the consensus, that it's now Biden versus Trump. So that all that attention and all that press coverage regarding Iowa and the early debates, it kind of petered out in a hurry, didn't it?
Exactly. But it looks like that. I would think that Bernie would be bowing out this week. If he doesn't, he's going to just hurt their cause. They've got to get some unity, and.
The coronavirus cases in the U.S. exceed over 1,000. The virus is now recorded in 38 states.
Over 1,000 now.
About the coronavirus.
Well, I was wrong with my 300. That was a couple of days ago.
Over 1,000 people that have the virus. Is that right?
1,000.
Yeah, but you got to look at those numbers. That's very, very low.
I know, you're right.
Well, the population of America is 327
About like saying that you got it in Goshen and nowhere else in the country. Is that right?
It's going to be what?
No, I'm just using that example.
And sunny this weekend down here at the beach. I feel like the warmer it gets, the better chance of this going away. I hope.
We talked about that before you got on the show. Yeah, that's my fault too.
Might ride down to Pier Park and watch the ATOs come to town.
Greet them with a case of wine and just say, hey.
That's right. Yeah, I want to let them have a big time. Yeah, you're right.
With some champagne.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of that. The chancellor, I saw him yesterday or last night at the game, but I didn't ask him. The question was, he going to be down there? He usually is. And it's a big event where Pier Park.
What kind of crowd they have at Riverwalk Stadium last night? 1,000 people?
At the most, 1,000. They were spread out all over the place. That's a big ballpark and a very good place to play. But you're right.
Did you go to Martin's?
No, I didn't go to Martin's. They fed us at the ballpark, and we had a little tailgate party and had a real good time and had good food. And
I wonder how the Biscuits attendance has been the last year or two. I haven't kept up with it like I used to.
They haven't started yet.
Is it?
But I tell you
with
what,
these minor league teams, it's really good the first couple years. There's excitement around it and the novelty of it, and it just gradually goes down until you have, like, Mobile no longer, I don't think, has a team.
Yeah, they do.
Or they don't?
They have the Bay. Don't they have the Bay Bombers?
Well,
Mobile lost their team to Biloxi, and Biloxi's baseball stadium died. I don't know if you've seen it. It's directly across from the Boulder Lodge.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Huh.
And then
It's
Huntsville.
right there in the heart of all the casinos.
Well, what are they going to do with Hank Aaron Stadium in Mobile? It's named after Hank.
Play high school baseball there, or college games. I
You know,
guess.
isn't Hank a unreal guy? He's got to be 90. How old is Hank Aaron, Mike? Give us a.
I would imagine he's got to be in his late 80s, I would say.
Yeah. Put Hank down as one of the
All right,
all-time
Bill, you're good
greats.
at stuff like this. How old do you think he is?
I'll say 87.
I'll say 85.
No, he's older than that.
I think he
How old
broke
is
into
he,
the big
Mike?
leagues in the late
Hank
50s.
Aaron is 86.
86 years
Probably
old. You're right. 86 years old, and
He was born on February the 5th, 1934 in Mobile, Alabama.
I remember the night he broke the record. Do y'all know who the pitcher was for
Al Downs.
Alfonso Downing.
Downing, that was
Pitcher.
fun.
Yeah, that's right, Downing.
Let's name some of the iconic baseball players and athletes of all time that came from Alabama. It's an amazing
Well,
list. Hank
Mobile alone's incredible.
Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, who was the big...
Willie McCovey, Billy Williams.
Bill Bruton.
Then you get into...
Billy Williams, McCovey, Aaron, Mays are all Hall of Famers. Then you got one Satchel Paige from Alabama.
I want to say he was from Alabama, yeah.
well, you got the iconic track athlete of all time is arguably Jesse Owens from Alabama.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
iconic prize fighter of all time, arguably with the exception of Muhammad Ali, is Joe Louis,
The
who's
Brown Bomber.
from Alabama. The iconic football coach of all time made Alabama home. He wasn't born in Alabama, Paul Bear Bryant.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just, now you can also probably include Bo Jackson to that list.
Ozzie Smith's born in Mobile.
Yep, that's right. Wizard
Carl
of
Lewis
Oz.
was actually, I think, born in Alabama.
The great Chicago Cub was from Alabama.
Yeah, Billy Williams.
Billy Williams. Was Ernie Banks from Alabama? I don't know if he was from it. But Ernie Banks was a...
In basketball,
for the
you
Cubs,
could-
let me see. Ernie
Charles
Banks.
Barkley's from Alabama.
That's right. Well, there's been a lot of those guys, no question about it. I was trying to think of some of the all-time greats.
Early Wynn, we left him out.
Early Wynn came out of Hartford, Alabama.
Satchel Paige is from Alabama.
Yeah. Clay, the great relief pitcher for the Braves for years. Clay pitched for Atlanta. Clay, I can't remember right off the bat, but he was.
This is a guy I never heard of that played 17 years in the major leagues. Was it Heaney Manash?
Gosh, I don't know him.
Oscar.
Manash, born in Tuscumbia.
Huh?
There's
Another guy named Rudy York.
Yeah, Rudy Orr. Yeah, that's years ago.
the guy in the Alabama baseball field is named after Sowell. I think
Yeah,
he
oh,
was,
yeah,
he
Sewell,
was a,
yeah, he
I
was
think
a
he's-
Yankee.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. For
Yeah, he
the-
played with Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Sewell did, and you know, it's just a lot of history. And of course, you know, Rickwood Field in Birmingham is the oldest baseball field. I wonder how they figure that. That is, they call it the oldest baseball field in America. Is Rickwood Field in Birmingham.
Baseball stadium, yeah.
Baseball stadium, yeah. And it's still operating. They still.
They play games there every year.
Yeah. A good friend of mine used to go to Sanford. James Lucas, of course, good friend of mine, and I hope he's watching this morning. He and a bunch of his buddies used to go out to Rickwood almost every night and watch them play, and then they sit out in the left field fence, and all those great Oakland players were playing for
The minor league
Birmingham.
teams, yeah.
And when I was the great Mr. October Jackson, Reggie Jackson
Yeah.
was one of them, and
Boy, the Oakland A's had some players for a
well,
while.
they really did.
And their owner, I think, is from Alabama. That was the owner of the team at that time.
Yeah, that's right.
Rickwood Field opened in 1910.
1910, Rickwood Field in Birmingham, and they had some great minor league teams there for years. And
what do you think they're going to do with?
They have a Hall of Fame museum there too, if anybody ever visits.
What do you think they'll do with Legion Field once UAB gets their stadium finished? Will they keep it open?
I would think the wrecking ball would be coming in, but I don't know.
I would too.
Well, there's always
Randall Wolfen, the mayor, phone. See what he has to say.
There's a need for a good high school stadium, but it's so big. You and I have had many memories at Legion Field in Birmingham. A lot of fun.
I have too. I mean, I like the games in Birmingham. I used to love the Iron Bowl in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It was so unique with the crowd split 50-50.
50-50 was really something.
The crowd,
right.
you'd have one roll tide, and then immediately after big loud roll tide, then immediately after a big, just as loud War Eagle. It was an atmosphere unlike any other. Now, I understand why they moved it to the campuses, but still, it was neat.
Of course, we got the big golf tournament coming up this weekend in Ponte Vedra, Florida.
I have been there before. I haven't been to that course, but I've been to.
But now, if you wanted to get in your car today and ride down there and see the golf tournament, you can. You can walk right up and buy a ticket.
I've been to Ponte Vedra Beach twice. Once for my little brother's bachelor weekend, and once I went with a group of Rush's friends in Montgomery to watch the Alabama FSU game in Jacksonville in 2007, Saban's first year.
Oh, yeah.
What I remember about that is we stayed at Ponte Vedra Resort. It has a little beach, and the red tide that weekend was the worst I have ever seen. So it was so bad, it got in everybody's throat. Everybody was coughing.
Oh, boy.
They said it was one of the worst they've ever had, which was kind of ironic. The weekend that Alabama came to play, the Crimson Tide, they had a terrible case of red tide.
Troy is now receiving votes in the top 25 poll of the USA Today's
that's
women's
a huge question
poll.
to ask that. I mean, does Troy get an at-large bid even if they don't win the Sun Belt Women's Tournament?
I don't know. That's a big question. They're 25-4. You would think any team that's won 25 games.
They only lost 4.
In fact, let's see. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Only 15 other teams that have won in more games than Troy.
Count it and see where Troy would be ranked if it went beyond 25. Where do they fall in the others receiving votes? You know what I'm saying? Like number 30 or?
Yeah, being 25-4, they'll end up
Where's Troy?
right here. Right here, yeah.
NIT spot by winning the regular season championship.
Wouldn't it be nice if they could get a home game? That would be
so
something.
Crazy. It's so backwards the way it is. I mean, to win a championship during the season is the tough thing to do. That's where you should have an automatic bid. The conference tournament, that's where you should maybe have a NIT bid, in my opinion. I mean, honor the team that was the best team throughout the year.
Yeah, over the course of several months proved they were the best. I agree.
Not a team that just gets hot during a tournament. It's kind of backwards the way they do it in basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. I think you're right.
Right now, the number one team in college basketball is Kansas in both polls, so that's telling you a lot about that.
Going on probation for all their recruiting scandals and all their paying of players. I mean, Bill Self, how in the world he still has a job is ridiculous. I don't know what the NCAA is doing. I don't know how they're going to allow this.
Yeah. San Diego State is ranked has the best record overall. Is 28-1.
Wow.
But I think the game they lost was to Gonzaga. I want to say Gonzaga is ranked number 2 in the country.
Was UNLV who had a losing record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, I got that wrong then. But some of these tournaments are going on right now.
The basketball tournament starts today.
Yeah. And
does Alabama play today?
Now, will Troy?
I think Alabama plays Thursday.
Yeah. Most of these games will be televised. In fact, I think Troy is a very good chance game will be televised this weekend. I think they've got a double bye. They
Troy doesn't play until Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that game's going to be on national TV. I want to say, which would be great.
Really?
I've heard that. They were talking about it last night.
On ESPN Plus.
Well, it'd be nice if Troy got in the tournament and didn't have to play the number 1 seed in the first game, or play a team that they have a chance to beat.
Yeah, the parity in women's basketball though is just insane. Every time Troy's made the NCAA tournament, they've usually got beat by 40 points from one of the bigger schools. It's just totally different. Let's see, tonight in the SEC, I'm trying to see who plays.
You got Arkansas and Vanderbilt, one team that's playing, and then Ole Miss and Georgia.
That's right.
And then Thursday, you got Tennessee and Alabama at noon.
Yeah, Alabama's got a horrible bracket. I mean, even if they beat Tennessee, their next game's Kentucky.
Yeah. And then Auburn, I was looking, they got the bye. They don't have to play until, that's where I'm reading this thing.
That's
They
right.
don't have to play until
Auburn,
Friday.
I don't think plays until...
They play Texas A&M.
Where did Auburn end up in the rankings in the regular season in the SEC? Second or third?
I think they finished in the top 4.
Yeah. But then LSU and...
I think Auburn's ranked 17th in the country.
Yeah. Is Kentucky the best team, or who do you think?
Yeah, Kentucky won the SEC.
Yeah.
LSU's good, aren't they?
Are they still doing it with freshmen?
LSU's pretty good. LSU's in, Auburn's in, Kentucky's in. They're saying that Mississippi State's got an outside chance to get in. Florida's in.
Yeah. So they got several teams that
I think they're only saying 5 to 6 SEC teams will get in.
Well, is this virus deal, is it going to put a hamper on all this?
I mean, who knows?
Hopefully, it's all you see on the TV is what's going to happen. I think I read where some of the teams in the East have decided just to go ahead and send their first place team and runner up to the tournament. Is that right?
I don't know if they can change the rules like that.
Well, what it was, they're just not going to have their. It's the Ivy League. Ivy League canceled its men and women's basketball tournament because of concerns of the
I
spread
guess what they would do is they play the games. They just would play them in front of in empty gyms, arenas. That's going to hurt these towns that count on all those people coming to the town.
This is what we could really be running into, is what you're talking about. 4-team tournaments were scheduled to be played Friday through Sunday. In Cambridge, it said the Ivy League instead will award its automatic NCAA tournament bids to the regular season champion, which was Princeton in the women and Yale in the men. So the tournaments are the first at the Division 1A level to be canceled by the virus. And
this is a bigger Wednesday that we hadn't heard from the great Max Howell.
I know it. I was wondering about that. Have we had the phone ringing up there? We haven't seen it down here, but he could be on the road.
When's the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Mike? Do you remember?
The Hall of Fame, Troy Hall of Fame, is the 25th of April. T-Day game is going to be the 4th of April. Mm-hmm. And Mike, that's going to be have we had a call from Max Howell, Scott?
I just got here. I don't know.
Okay. But also the
T-Day game.
The T-Day game is going to have several things. They're going to have a big dinner and pre-game.
There's all kinds of stuff
all
going on.
All kinds of stuff going on. So that's going to be a big weekend. What? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Isn't that where the weekend they also have the big state Special Olympics here in Troy?
I don't know if that's that weekend.
It's near there.
I want to say it's further into the summer.
That's a big event we take for granted.
Oh, yeah, it really is.
It brings tons of people.
It brings thousands.
And
of people.
I have been to it once or twice. I need to go more because I love it when I go. But from everything I've heard, the people that put that on do a fantastic job.
You look at a lot of the events, and I keep saying that the thing we need right now, we need more hotel space. I mean, for people to have to, when they play, let's just say playing football here, a lot of people stay in Ozark. Some people stay in Dothan. There are people that stay in Greenville. There are people that stay in Montgomery. Even Luverne, motels over there, because they can't get rooms in Troy. But we need to solicit, and I would think that a nice hotel that's got a lot of the amenities, meeting rooms and things like that, would be big in Troy. It would tickle me.
Well, we talked a couple weeks ago about things we'd love to see in Troy, and one of them was one of these campus hotels, conference centers like they have in Alabama and Tuscaloosa and Auburn.
Yeah.
I think it would go well.
And they already have a hotel motel management degree.
They could,
and they could use that as part. I tell you something, Troy needs to do.
Motel Holiday Inn?
What now?
No, I thought you were singing that song, Hotel Motel Holiday Inn.
No. I wasn't singing it.
Was that the first ever rap song?
Yeah, but I would say this: a thing that needs to be done, and I'm opening up another can of worms here, is we need to get this. Troy University needs to buy the Armory. That piece of property is a prime piece of property where a huge hotel and convention center
would be perfect.
Would be perfect for that location.
That's it. And you talked to me one time about the possibility of them putting an indoor football facility there. That would work too.
That's right.
I think the hotel conference center idea is better use of that land.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go down through the woods there, you already have land that's owned by the university. The managed student apartments are down there, which you would open up that end of the campus.
Seems like it'd be easy to do too. Couldn't the Armory just go somewhere else or make a deal? And
what they could do is what we call swapping land. You take land that's owned by the university or by the city and swap it out.
You're right. Who owns the National Guard Armory? I guess it's the Alabama National Guard.
The United States Army, I reckon.
Yeah.
But that is a can of worms that we have just opened. But it does make plenty of sense. It just makes a lot of sense. Even if it's just used for parking, it would make more sense to have that facility there.
They have used that land great, and then they've added new land and new properties.
Well, hear this, all right? Remember where the Army Reserve used to be is now part of the Board of Education owns it. So that meant that the city had to buy something from the federal government or do something like that.
It can be done.
And I know some of this park property that we have in Troy was swapped out for other things. Troy is really got a lot of nature walking trails. Troy is one of the leading communities with access to walking trails.
Well, it's out there by the Sportsplex. They've done a good job of.
Have you ever been down there?
Yeah.
Boy, that big old pond. A lot of people don't realize it's got a big old lake down there. Yeah, it's not owned by the city, but it's beautiful.
It is.
And but those are just some things that we need to take a look at. And
that show I'm talking about is one of my favorite shows. We got to discuss all our ideas, and I'd love to see the Walnut Creek Lake project revisited. It'd be 100 times more expensive than it was 30 years ago when we could have done it for a dime.
We came
but
very close.
It'll still be 1,000 times more expensive if you do it 30 years from now.
Yeah.
But think if you had a big lake that wrapped around Highway 231 going to Sisters, back behind Charles Henderson High School and over there by your Crow's Hill.
Yeah, that's right. Right down there at the bottom there was going to be a boat landing right there on the corner of George Wallace Drive and M Street.
And I still want to beautify the Charles Henderson High School campus. It's got all that land and do a beautiful professional landscaping deal with a lot of waterfalls and terraces and gardens. Let the students or civic groups maintain it.
The land down the bottom is owned by the university now.
Really?
Yeah, it's owned by the university. Below the practice below the baseball fields at Charles Henderson and the softball fields.
Good.
That land down at the bottom is owned by the university
They're
now.
thinking long term.
Which that water could be turned. Of course, you have what you call wetlands. You can't do a whole lot with that, but naturally, though, it would be very conducive for an additional golf course or a golf course in there. You can move that water around and make it quite a golf course.
Have you noticed how they're slowly thinning out and beautifying the area from the President's Mansion down to the lagoon?
Oh yeah, that is.
I can see them working, and that's going to be a former eyesore that's going to become a place of beauty, just like that amphitheater area in front of the President's Mansion, former eyesore that's now a showplace. When I've had guests come into Troy, I give them one of my ride-arounds, which you do all the time, and I take them over there and show them the amphitheater and the grounds in front of the President's Mansion. I take my kids there to roam around and play all the time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And another thing that we need to look at, is that going down from Charles Henderson High School down toward going toward Elm Street, the intersection there with Elm Street and George Wallace Drive. To the right there, right below where the softball field is, it's a huge drop off. Mm-hmm. If we need, and see, they've done that on the other side of the campus, but the city needs to put some kind of barrier up going down that hill. So it's just a serious problem. If a car went off there, it would be awfully bad because it's such a big drop off, and we need some kind of barrier or what do you call them?
I know.
Your road guardrail. We need a guardrail there to help prevent what could be a terrible thing one day.
When I moved to Montgomery, one of the biggest changes to Troy was when they built Trojan Arena about that time, and then they added on to the football practice fields, and that whole area where the football practice fields and Trojan Arena is
and
now in front of Troy, it is just night and day. It's amazing.
Well, it was a gully, and it's what 1 million square feet of dirt will do. And that's exactly what it was. Over 1 million square yards of dirt went in there, and it made a ugly place that was not being used by anybody into a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. And now they use it as practice fields, and just think of the hundreds of kids, even thousands of kids that come in to Troy every day or every week during the summers for camps and for football, baseball, basketball. Just those things alone have been enhanced by.
Troy is now marketing. Troy University is marketing their campus as Alabama's most beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Well, tell me the campus is prettier.
Yeah. What are the?
University of Alabama was pretty.
That'd be in the conversation.
Well, those big trees, you take them out.
Same for University campus, gorgeous too.
Yeah, those would be the two.
But Troy is right in there.
Spring Hill College is in a pretty area, but Alabama is the main stretch is beautiful with the quad and Denny Chimes.
The President's Mansion.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the whole campus because there's many.
Troy's got on the practice field though. They've got to put some kind of fencing up or something. I mean, that's just so open to anybody that can go there watching practice.
Yeah, I know you're right. It's wide open, but
there's no privacy whatsoever. They also got to build an indoor 50-yard at least practice facility. They got to have that. That's the next thing they've got to do.
The key is where do you put it?
Where you put it, you got all those practice fields, the intramural fields that don't even get used.
Well, let me just say this. A lot of it, we got to think of the aesthetics, the aesthetics part of it.
The golf courses facilities through the roof. I can't believe they built something that nice.
You don't want to make it look just like an old barn. What are those? What are those things that they put on the top of those buildings? What are they called? Palladiums?
Yeah. I think it is.
Or if you'll notice, all over this campus, there are palladiums on every top of every building. I guarantee you, if they build them an indoor practice facility, there'll be palladiums at the top of that too, which makes it beautiful.
I think the stadium's stadium's as big as it needs to be. I don't think they'll ever get to the point where they're going to have over 30,000 people a game.
Yeah.
I don't see it in my
Let me
opinion.
just say this: football is okay, but you know what? I don't care what anybody says. They built the Trojan Arena too small. They can't even get. They can't even get their. They can't even get their graduation in there. You know, and that's over.
They could have easily built that for 6,000, probably 8,000.
That's
You
right.
talk about events coming to Troy that fill up hotels. Let's rank the biggest events in Troy every year.
I
guess
say
a
the biggest
big
event-
home football game, but a lot of those people go back home.
Yeah. I think graduation, you know, even though a lot of people come in and but graduation has over 6,000 people at the graduations.
I wish Troy University could somehow build some kind of sidewalk from the university to downtown. I don't know if there's a way to do that, like a lighted sidewalk. Even the city of Troy could be involved and let the students get involved and be able to use downtown more. I feel like that's something they ought to look into.
You're right. Football would be the biggest thing. You know, where there's 25,000 people to come into our community and spend money and time and again.
Graduation.
Again, I hit that part where we got to have more hotels.
Well, then the recreation department hosts all kind of softball and baseball tournaments that bring a lot more people into town than you think about.
Well, especially that softball, girls softball, where they bring 45 teams in here from all over the
It
state.
doesn't get enough local attention, but this AISA triple header football championship brings 6 teams from the AISA
that's
into
right.
town in one day. The Special Olympics doesn't get enough attention,
That's
but
right.
the state Special Olympics, that's a prestigious thing that we
Exactly.
have. Used
No
to have
question.
these regional basketball tournaments that some of those games would sell out Sartain Hall.
Yeah, they do not have that, and you know, they've been given the opportunity. But I can understand their situation there. But you're right. Athletics really brings in a lot of people. I would love to see a state track meet come in here. We have one of the nicest tracks in the country. The only problem we don't have, though, that we didn't have when we were in the old stadium was seating. We just don't have as much
And
seating.
I went to a lot of track meets. I love
watching it too.
And those athletes and teams would spread out all over the stadium,
That's
and
right.
they put tents up and sleeping bags and
It was
pretty
one of
much
the best
camp
tracks
camp
around.
out in the bleachers all day is what they do.
And it's a wonderful track, and you know, that's another thing that they've got there, that the public is able to utilize that wonderful track. Now the sports fitness center that is just opened is beautiful, but it is being right now used by only students.
Okay.
You know, I don't even know if even faculty is able to use
You got the Troy Rec Center, though. I mean, everybody go out there.
You've got a wonderful rec center, one of the best in the country. You're exactly right.
We didn't have anything like that when I was growing up.
Oh, that was people talked about. Bo Gaylord dreamed about that, and everybody knew that would be a great thing, and now it's a reality, and it has been just what everybody hoped it would be.
You know, that sneakers deal, you know, is where you can actually go free, use those facilities free. Did you know that? Are you familiar with the sneakers deal?
The Silvers,
Silver sneakers,
the senior citizens.
And that gives you, it gives, a lot of people free.
A lot of
admittance
kids go out to
in there.
use the outdoor playground. I've never used the walking trails, but they look real nice.
And then they're heated pool. You know, they got a heated indoor-outdoor pool. And
Maggie had swimming lessons there.
Did she? Uh-huh.
They got an indoor pool and an outdoor pool, and we've used those.
And Dan Smith does a great
Maggie
job.
had our birthday party out there. They got little rooms
Sure.
where you can go and eat and open your presents after you swim.
A parent can actually bring their child in there at 8 o'clock and pick them up at 5 o'clock. They've got that kind of facility, too.
That's unbelievable.
That's right. Very good facility and very well run by Dan Smith and his staff.
Yeah, the worst thing down here about preschools is basically your kids are there from 7:45 is when they open, and you have to pick them up by 2:45 down here. It's unbelievable. It's like the same as high school schedule. Everybody's on the Walton County schools schedules down here.
So
you
you
know,
can't-
a parent, if they let them do it,
You can't keep them until 5 o'clock.
No, there's no extended care.
yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, if you were a parent,
I had to hire a nanny to pick my kids up and then take care of my kids until 5.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
you know, you would think that a parent would could have some kind of working situation where they doesn't have to go to what I'm saying, not go to lunch, and you get that extra hour there, so you work from 8 to 3, you know. But that'd be hard to do.
I have a lot of freedom where, I mean, I can go get the girls, but I mean, it's one of those type of things where, you know, most people, you know, are stuck behind a desk.
Also need it opened at 7, like, I couldn't be on the show, or my wife couldn't be, my wife's got to be at school at 7:30 at Charles Henderson High School. I come on the show a few minutes before 7, so daycare has to be opened at 7 o'clock to allow us to, my wife to drop off Jack and then still have time to drop off Maggie and still have time to make it to school at 7:30.
I mean, I would say the worst part is there's no summer. They take the whole summers off as well, so we're going to have to find somebody for the summers as well to take care of our kids.
That's a burden on y'all. I mean, that is tough.
It's tough, you're right.
Birmingham was 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every night, and you had it year round. I mean, it's basically come late May, you gotta find child care until August.
You don't have the extended care facilities?
They'll have extended care next year. They're building a new facility where our girls go, but I mean, I just don't know how parents do it. I mean, I know down here a lot of people have a lot of money, and you know, they can afford nannies and afford babysitters and stuff like that. But you know, some of these younger families, it's got to be tough on them.
Yeah, no question about it.
I mean, I'm doing this in my 40s. I can't imagine doing it in my 20s.
Let me ask your dad a question. When you were a kid, do you remember any daycare like they have today?
We had kindergarten. We had that. You know, Miss Egan's.
But what about daycare for 3-year-olds? There wasn't.
No, nothing like that. Most of, you know, back then women did not work like they have to work now, but you know, most of your mothers stayed at home, you know.
And now you almost got to work to keep a standard of living.
Exactly.
That's a big change in society in the last 40 or 50 years.
That has been the biggest change.
Women going, I've talked about this in the story I did on inflation, actually tied in, you know, yes, people's standards of living might be arguably the same as in the 1950s or 60s, but it now takes 2 incomes, both people working to do it.
No question about it. We're going to take a short break. We're brought to you by Max Federal Credit Union, located on the bypass right here in Troy, and we appreciate them so very much. Also, the Matthews Law Firm, looking forward to hearing from Will Matthews today on our show. We'll be right back.
I've been working for this my whole life. The chance to relax on the open water. With my financial institution, Max, my Achieve checking account earns dividends. So I'm free to do what I love.
Piggly Wiggly's local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Melatonin for kids.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. I bought a Premier, a Ram truck, and I love it. It's one of the best vehicles I've ever owned, and they've got all kinds of great deals going on. They got a huge sale going on right now at Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy. I want to also mention Troy Regional Medical Center, one of the great hospitals in Alabama, and we appreciate what our city has done to provide us with excellent medical care at Troy Regional Medical Center.
Yeah, we especially need it right now, don't we?
You're exactly right. And so far, so good. We've been so fortunate. Why is Alabama sitting right there as the only, I think it's the only state in the Southeast that has not had one of these cases come up?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm surrounded by spring breakers from all over the country down here now, so I'm really having a hard time because I went and had, lunch yesterday, and I'm a big salt and pepper guy. It's hard for me not to grab that salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah.
I think I'm having a hard time with that one.
Well, like last night.
I really want to grab a napkin and try to do it. I don't know what to do. My problem is I eat out every meal for lunch.
Well, let me ask you this. I was around a bunch of people last night, and they all wanted to shake your hand. And I started, giving them a fist because they say that's one of the things you don't need to do is shake a lot of hands. And I have been, and this is the first time I've ever been really conscious of really washing my hands for 20 seconds.
I'm doing more.
And that's very important. The grocery store shelves here in Troy and Pike County are full of food, but I would think that it's not a bad idea to put back some things just in case.
Well, it's not like that at the beach. The beach, man, the things you need are like wiped out everywhere I've been down here.
Isn't that amazing? The Clorox stock just shot up straight.
Even toilet paper's through the roof. Toilet paper places.
Auburn, go to Auburn, Mike. There's plenty of toilet paper. Auburn, just think of all the people in the world that need toilet paper, and Auburn throwing it all on trees outside.
Maybe those high school seniors that roll our yard every year before graduation won't roll our yard this year.
I don't ever remember getting into rolling yards in high school.
It's a tradition where
it's a big thing now.
I remember hearing crazy stories about kids in high school climbing up that water tower next to the high school and painting on it. I remember hearing stories like that.
I can tell you one firsthand.
Did you ever climb up there?
Kind of. No, I didn't climb it, but here's the story. Here's the rest. I guess it's statute of limitations is passed. Yeah, it started in the class of 78 or 79, putting your class nickname, painting it on the water tower there by the fire station. Stupid as can be, but it happened.
You're talking about a death wish, man.
But they did it. It was Rush's.
A few soda pops went up there.
Oh, I don't think so. No.
They went up the water tank.
Yeah, they climbed it.
That water tank, you saw it painting on it.
Oh yeah.
They not only went up it, they carried brushes and paint cans. But I think I'm gonna give you the background. I think it started with the class of 78. Rush's class was the Clan of 79. That's Clan with a C. Then you had the crew of 82 and so forth. The Heroes was one class. I helped come up with our nickname for the class of 83, which was the Sasquatchin Dogs. Boy, you think about all the letters you got to do with that. So one night, a fellow who will remain unnamed said, in my classmate, that we got to do it. And he recruited the late Charles Bradshaw and Al Curtis and myself. Said, we're going to paint it. And fortunately, I had sprained my ankle a week or so before and was probably on the cast. I lived in crutches in high school, so that meant I could not climb that water tower. I don't think I would have ever.
Oh, boy.
But I went with them and gave them moral support and stayed at the bottom by the fence and watched my friends climb up that ladder.
Man.
And Charles Bradshaw, he got down, climbed up the fence with the barbed wire at the top, tripped on that barbed wire, fell 10 feet, and kissed the ground. I've never seen anybody so happy that he got down.
Oh, gosh. That's the right next to the Armory. Is that right?
Yeah, and that went on for about 4 or 5 more years. And I tell you what ended it is they did a real nice, pretty water tower.
Yeah.
And then they must have did some other security measures. But
right.
Thank God nobody died doing
Piggly Wiggly. Now, a lot of folks love this now, especially people that love to throw big barbecues. They got Boston butts at Piggly Wiggly for 99 cents a pound. They got fresh fryer drumsticks and thighs. This is another good one to grill, 95 cents a pound. They got cooked corned beef brisket, $4.87 a pound. They've got Oscar Mayer wieners, 2-pack for $3. They've got Luncheonette, snack Lunchables, 4 for $5. That's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, we would buy them, fill up the buggy every time we go.
Your pork steaks and country-style ribs, which is my favorite because it's so meaty, just $1.39 a pound. This is a great time to stack up on some good meat products, especially if you like to cook out.
Cookout season.
And then baby back ribs, $2.98 a pound. Just wonderful selections here. Jumbo meat franks. This one would be a good one to buy just in case, 3 for $11. And hear this, Jimmy Dean sliced bacon, 2 for $6. And then your Smoky Farm sausage patties for 2 for $6. Huge sales going on today at Piggly Wiggly in the on North Fremont Street in Troy, and in the shopping center on the bypass, and we appreciate all of their support of our show. Bill Rice Jr., there is a new picture of a new jail that will be coming up in Troy, and
boy, that's much needed for decades.
And that's going to be a brand new facility. Where is the actual location going to be? It doesn't really say, does it? But it's on the page of the messenger.
Let me see if I can scan it.
And we'll scan it a little bit. Hope that all of you will pay attention to what's going on in our schools and in our churches, and keep your eyes open for any kind of unusual sicknesses and things like that could be coming up, from this virus that's going on. But so far, so good. The state of Alabama has 0 cases to
talking about jails, think about this scenario. If that coronavirus gets in some big prison,
could be bad.
It could be bad. I mean,
where do you put those people?
Where do you put them in? It could spread and infect just about everybody, including guards, in a couple of days, you would think.
We were talking yesterday how it could affect so many things, not only recreation activities, your schools, your churches, anywhere there's a group that will be assembling. The worst place you can be with this virus is among a lot of people. You need to separate yourself and and not go to these areas that are so highly populated. But that's the way that's what they're telling us to do now. They might be telling us to do other things, but right now, to my knowledge, we're the only state in the Southeast that has not had one. And could it be because we don't have any way to test? Is that right?
That could be. Some people speculate that there'd be a lot more cases if more people have been tested, and they speculate that a lot of people, or some people, have had it and they didn't even know they had it. They had a mild form of it and just thought they had a bad cold or maybe the regular flu.
Yeah. A guy died a couple of weeks ago that was a real good friend of mine, and this didn't have anything to do with this virus. But Steve Kilpatrick, want to let everybody know I'm still got him in my mind and my thoughts and our prayers for his family, and great guy, Steve Kilpatrick, and we're going to miss him. Want to mention also to be careful with what you do on the roads, and of course right now we're seeing beautiful weather, and hopefully it'll continue.
We're going to have a lot of spring breakers that are already going south, and boy, that's always a boon.
When is the spring break at Charles Henderson or city schools?
I think it's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But think of all the people from the north that are heading south, and all the businesses on Highway 231 that get a big boost.
And a lot of them will come right through here. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, for Today in L.A.